So I'm not sure why my last video got cut short before I finished my interval. But of course, because it's greater than or equal to, we use brackets. And we, of course, use the parentheses on the infinity side, but the interval is positive between -2 and 1/3, union 2 to infinity. Remember, using brackets because it is greater than or equal to. Okay, so now we're going to between the relationship between rational inequalities the way that we're used to seeing them and their graphs. Come on. Sorry, guys. Give my computer just a moment to catch up to me. Maybe. Ah, there it goes. Okay. So we're going to look at the rational inequality by a graph and by hand. So we are given 3x minus 6 over x plus 2. We are given the graph for the expression, and we're going to be looking at for everything less than or equal to 0, meaning where is it less than or equal to 0? Now, for these, we have a little bit of a special parameters that we have to look at. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our key numbers. And of course, in order to do that, I need to solve the top and solve the bottom. So I'm going to first factor the top. Oops. I get to pull out a 3, and I get x minus 2 on the top, and I get x plus 2 on the bottom. Now, of course, I have to solve those. I'm going to do x minus 2 equal to 0, so I'll get x equals 2 for the top, and I will get x plus 2 set it equal to 0. X cannot be -2 in the denominator, right? He cannot be 0 in the denominator, so x cannot equal 2 in the denominator. Okay, this is actually an important detail whenever we go to do the by hand portion. So we're going to write, well, first we're going to draw, right? We love our little, I like using my representation here from -infinity to +infinity. Okay, and my key values, of course, I said were -2 and 2, so -2 and 2. And of course, we're looking at less than or equal to 0, but it cannot equal 2. Very important thing there. So I know that whenever I go to do this, I'm going to get parentheses for whatever it is because it cannot equal -2. Now, of course, just like before, my test interval is between -infinity and -2, between -2 and 2, and between 2 and infinity. I'm going to choose my x values. I'm going to choose -3. I'm going to choose a 0, and I'm going to choose a +3. So these are my x values that I'm going to plug in. So we're going to take our equation. In this case, remember our equation is 3x minus 6 over x plus 2. That's the equation that we're going to use to plug in our values. So I know I'm going to get a 3 times -3. Oop. Goodness gracious. Okay, 3 times -3 minus 6 over -3 plus 2. Do the math. -3 times 3, -9 minus 6, -15. -1. Reduce it. It is 15, but all I care about is the fact that it is positive, meaning it occurs above my line. Sorry, guys. Come on. Okay. Well, we're going to keep going. And we're going to plug in 0 now. So 3 times 0 minus 6 over 0 plus 2. That is negative 6 over 2. That's negative 3. All that matters is I'm getting a negative. All right, hang on, guy. Come on. Okay, there it goes. All right, so now I'm going to look at, I need 3 times, I'm going to plug in a positive 3 minus 6 over 3 plus 2. 9 minus 6 is 3 over 5. All that matters, it's positive. So this is negative. This is positive. And I have to remember, my equation wanted to know what is less than or equal to 0. So I'm looking at the negative side. So I know it's going to be my interval between negative 2 and 2. Remember, it said less than or equal to 0. I know it can't include that negative 2. So when I write my answer on that side, it will be a negative 2. But it will include that positive 2 with a bracket because it has to be less than or equal to. So we added an extra layer to the parameters. Now, for 6, we're going to do the same thing. And we're going to verify the answers with our graphing utility, which I'm going to try to remember to do for this one. I first need to figure out what my parameters are, my key values are. So I'm going to have to set the top equal to 0 and the bottom equal to 0. So x equals 0 for the top term, and if I solve this, it's x cannot equal 5 in the denominator. It's a key important detail. Anytime you set the denominator equal to 0, it's going to be a does not include. So, draw my number line. Okay, so I'm going to put my 0. I'm going to put my 5. Choose my values. I like negative 1. I like a positive 1. And I like a 6. So I'm going to take and I'm going to plug those answers in. I'm going to do negative 1 over negative 1 minus 5. Whoops. Negative 1 over negative 1 minus 5. I get a positive answer. Second, enter. I'm going to change that negative 1 to a positive 1. So I'm going to delete the negative. What do I get? I get a negative answer. For 6, I'm going to go second, enter. I'm going to plug in that 6. Positive answer. Now, I know that it's greater than, so I'm going to have all parentheses when I do this. And my interval, for it to be greater than 0, it means it's where my answer is positive. I have 2 of those. So I know my interval is going to be from negative infinity to 0, union 5 to positive infinity. Okay, let's verify it in my calculator. So I'm going to plug it in. I get an x over parentheses, x minus 5, because the whole denominator must be included. And I'm going to take a peek at my graph. All right. And if you can't look at the graph and fully see it, you can also take and look at the table. But you're going to check your values. We're going to check negative 1. That's a positive. We're going to check my 1. It's a negative. We're going to check at our 6. It's a positive after that. So we know that we're going in the right direction. B. Again, set them equal to 0. X minus 2 equals 0. I know x is 2. X plus 1 equal to 0. X cannot be negative 1. Draw my line. Okay, now I'm going to put my values. I have a negative 1, a positive 2. Choose what you're going to check. I'm going to check a negative 2, a 0, a 3. I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put it in y equals in my calculator. Very carefully, I'm going to put the top part in parentheses, so x minus 2, divided by x plus 1. I'm going to check my values. I'm going to check my negative 2 first. I get a positive. I'm going to check my 0. I get a negative. Check my 3. I get a positive. Now again, it's saying less than 0, meaning all I care about are the negative intervals. And I know that it cannot include negative 1, so that's going to be a parentheses, negative 1 to 2. Another parentheses because of the less than 0. For C, we complicate it just a little bit more. We're going to have to factor, well, the denominator. I still set x minus 1 equal to 0 to get x 1. I'm going to have to factor the x squared minus 4. It's a different of squares. I know it's an x minus 2, x plus 2, set equal to 0, and I know x cannot be negative 2 and 2. Oh, well, 2 and negative 2. It doesn't matter what order you put it in. I'm looking for where it's less than or equal to 0, meaning I'm looking for the negatives. So I'm going to draw my line. I'm going to put my important. Now I get a negative 2. Now I get a negative 2. I'm getting a 1. Positive 2. The values I'm going to check. Negative 3. I'm going to choose 0 between those two. Now between 1 and 2, well, I'm going to have to choose a decimal. I'm going to choose 1.5. And then I'm going to choose 3. So again, I'm going to go into my calculator. Go to y equals. Y equals, come on. All right. And I'm going to do x minus 1 in the numerator. And I'm going to change that denominator to x squared minus 4 and make sure I close my parentheses. Very important that I separate the numerator and the denominator with parentheses. And I'm going to take a look at my table. Okay. Negative 3, I get a negative. 0 is a positive. 1.5, ooh, if I notice, 1.5 isn't given, so I'm going to change my table set. So second table set, I'm actually going to change that to a 0.5 interval so that I can see those values. And now I'm going to look for 1.5. There it is. Okay, it's negative. Now I'm going to look for 3. It's positive. Now again, I'm looking for the values less than or equal to 0. However, at 2 and negative 2, if I remember correctly, oops, sorry guys, it's going to be parentheses at these. Okay, so I'm just going to put my parentheses in there. That way it's a good little visual for me. And now I get to choose the negative intervals. So this one is negative infinity to negative 2. Union. The next negative is between 1 and 2. This is where the difference is. It can include 1. It cannot include 2. Right? It's still a less than or equal to, but at the cannot include portions, I have to use my parentheses. All right. That's my answer. I got all my negative solutions. I'm done. If you have any questions or you need help on your homework, please feel free to message me, to set up a meeting with me. I'm happy to help you as we go through this process. I also want to say, please double check your grades. We are at the halfway point. Um, if you're not making a 70 or above right now, you need to have a private conversation with me. So please feel free to reach out.